How does the internet actually view your site and your reputation? I'm often repeating the phrase that 90% of SEO is just content and backlinks. However, is that an oversimplification? Well, there's one thing I want to clarify today, which is just a subtle nuance within that backlink bracket that no one else is actually talking about. Now, I first reported this back in November when it first came out. But basically, during Google's antitrust trials, they released this presentation basically talking about how their algorithm actually works. And it's really nothing new, but there's a clear focus which most people haven't really regarded before. And it really goes beyond that content and links formula that we often talk about. So it basically says 3 pillars of ranking, what the document says about itself. So, like I say, Google can't read your pages. It can only get vague understanding about the kinds of things you're talking about. So in terms of relevance and authenticity, Google's got certain ways of analysing your page in order to rank it. But then we get on to the off-page elements, which are clearly much bigger and more complex than we originally thought. And so we have anchors. Now we talk about anchors as being the text of a backlink. So if another website links to you, generally you want that backlink to include either your keyword or your brand name as the anchor text. Traditionally, people tend to over-optimize using the keyword as the anchor text. So your best credit card page would have all these links pointing at it, all saying best credit card, best credit card. And of course, that got suspicious. So now you really want to mix it up a bit. Ideally, try and avoid using the same anchor text twice, apart from your brand name. But of course, you can include the brand name and the keyword potentially. So for the best credit card, make sure to go to creditcardcomparison.site.com. But here they take that idea of anchors further and basically to what the web says about the document. So we're still basically talking about link building here, but it's much more semantically based in terms of it's basically about what these websites actually say about the brand and the page. And we also have to factor in user interactions, what users say about the document. So that's basically saying the same thing. Users can be reviews, but it can also just be other commentators and experts, which can of course include the bloggers and journalists you're reaching out to for link building purposes. So you can actually take this further by delving into the search quality rater guidelines. This is the latest version, March 2024. You can find this quite easily. So if we come up to the top here, this says 5th of March 2024. So right around the latest Google update. Now for context, for those of you who don't know, yes, Google's got a really smart algorithm, but that's also backed up by all these manual search quality raters who are actual people who are given the task of basically opening this browser called Rater Hub. There's a couple of others available, and they'll basically drop in on your site and have a look. Now, some people theorize that if you suffered a traffic drop, it's best to go into your analytics and see if you've had a visit from this Rater Hub domain, because that could be a good indicator of what's actually going on. So what the search quality raters do is basically score and assess your website, and that can have an influence on rankings, and not in the kind of way that might show up in Search Console as a manual penalty. It's much more likely to be softer. Some people argue, is your website actually going to get directly penalized by this, or is it more to get an overview to actually train the algorithm? That's not what we're talking about today, but it's a public document and tells you a lot about what Google's actually looking for, how the algorithm actually works. So you can see in the latest version, after the latest update targeting AI sites, we've got all this spammy websites, low quality pages, lacking EEAT, but we want to stay further up and look at section 3.3, which again is this idea of reputation. So reputation of the website and content creators. So when I'm talking about link building, I'm pretty much always talking about power and DR. This idea that you want your page score to be as high as possible using correlational tools. So does your page contain all the entities, all the questions and answers that your competitors that are ranking top of Google are? Because generally Google shows you how you should actually formulate and structure that page. But when it comes to links, we talk about power as a simplification. We do talk about anchor text profiles as well. So you want a good mix of keyword anchor text, brand anchor text. Kind of depends what stage your website is actually at. If you're a brand new site with a DR of 0, then I wouldn't recommend hitting with all these keyword targeted anchor text. I'd really rather you actually built up the brand much more, because when a business first launches, it's very likely you're going to be doing a bit of PR, getting press mentions, and it's very likely they're all going to be linking to you with your brand name rather than your keyword every time. So if you're just starting off, rely on safer anchor text, such as the brand name, and completely unrelated anchor text as well, click here and things like that. But basically what this document says, let me zoom in, is that it's important to understand the reputation of the website. And it says down here, reputation research is especially important for detecting untrustworthy websites and content creators. Content may look great on the surface, but reputation research can expose scams, fraud, or other signs of harm. You never know what you'll find unless you look. Therefore, reputation research is required for all rating tasks. So the next question is, what does it actually mean by good reputation? What does a good reputation look like to Google? So it says a website's reputation is based on the experience of real users and the opinions of people who are experts. Websites may represent real companies, organizations, and other entities. Reputation research applies to both the website and the actual company, organization, or entity that the website is representing. Many websites are eager to tell users how great they are. Your job is to independently evaluate the page quality of the website, be skeptical of claims that websites make about themselves, particularly when there is a clear conflict of interest. And here's the key part. It says, look for independent reviews, references, recommendations by experts, news articles, and other sources of credible information about the website. Look for information written by a person or organization, not statistics or other machine-compiled information. News articles, Wikipedia articles, blog posts, magazine articles, forum discussions, and ratings from independent organizations can all be great sources of reputation information. So when I read this back in November, I knew, so already in my link building agency, we like to focus on a mix of traditional link insertions and guest posts. So for years, the standard fodder of most link building agencies has been basically finding all the websites that have already been hammered by loads of competitors and just getting their client's link inserted on the same page as all of their competitors. So that's great in terms of correlation, matching what the competitors are doing, but it's also diminishing returns. It's quite dilutionary. If this page has already got 4 competitors linked to from it, so it's a guest blog about the best dog food, and you've got 4 dog food companies on there, and then you come in and just insert a link to your client's dog food brand, then there'll be some power, but generally it's going to be very diluted. And what you'll generally find is these are old blog posts, not well optimized, so quite often they don't even rank for anything. So for a while, I've known there's a power in actually ranking guest posts. So if you're doing the effort of doing link building, conducting outreach, and you're getting content on other websites, then why would you write this irrelevant blog post that's never actually going to rank for anything when you could actually tailor that blog post to actually rank on Google? So we recommend actually using the surfer just like you're ranking a page on your own website, because then when you submit that guest post, you've got the best chance of actually ranking that page on Google. So you can potentially basically get a parasite SEO benefit out of it. So if you are trying to rank for best dog food, or in this case, dental SEO, then yes, you're trying to build up the power of your website based on the backlinks, but also if you're reaching out to a powerful news site or blog with a highly optimized article on dental SEO, then it's very likely that page will actually rank on Google. So for one thing, that could mean users actually land on that page and then find out about your brand, but also that backlink within the article is going to be much more powerful, and it's yours. There's not 5 other competitors in the same article. That's not to say there's anything wrong with link insertions. I think they're still really good, but it's important to mix it up a bit. Remember, you always want backlink diversity. So a combination of link insertions and guest posts is really healthy. And also you want to disguise that footprint, disguise those patterns. If you're entirely reliant on link insertions, yes, there's a benefit that you're inserting links in pages that already have power and established standing. It also saves you the whole negotiation of getting a guest post approved, making sure it conforms to all the editorial requirements. So link insertions are very efficient in that way. But don't forget, it wouldn't take much for Google to actually implement an algorithm that says if a website's backlink profile, if the majority of those links have all been added in older articles that exist before the links were added, then we'll tank that site. So that's a very dangerous footprint. So absolutely recommend link insertions. They are really good, but you don't want to rely on them as your only strategy. So that's why we like to mix in a good number of these guest posts to disrupt that pattern. And like I say, there's a load of benefits anyway to doing guest posts, even though you're actually having to do a lot more work and incur a lot more cost to actually get that link placed. But the big pivot I went through, especially when we realized the way Google was shifting in terms of this reputation research element, was if you're already writing this guest post, then why not actually use it to improve your reputation, improve your expertise, experience, authority, and trust? Let's actually get that guest post to, first of all, look like a proper news article, editorial article by the blog owner, the journalist, so that not only does it fulfill all the SEO requirements, but also promotes your brand in a reasonably moderate, authoritative way. So kind of like a news advertorial where it's a promotion, but it's not too salesy. It's still meant to look like news and good quality content. So what that does is it basically gives you not only the backlink, but also basically a citation. We talk about citations as being your company name, address, and phone number, which is great for local SEO. But the fact is, if your brand name has been mentioned multiple times across the internet and associated with a good reputation, then that's a really good sign to Google. Here's one of my clients I always like to refer back to. So they've been with us now about 1.5 years, and when they came to us, they wanted to change their domain name and basically start from scratch. So they started with a domain rating of 0 and no content. Now, normally we say it's about a 3 to 6 month wait to get content initially starting to rank. And on a brand new domain, it can be even longer. But in their case, we got results really quite quickly. They started with us in November of 20, and so you can see currently at 75 traffic, but very quickly we got that up to about 2,000 by May. That remained relatively consistent for most of 3, but then towards the autumn of 2023, especially around the time of the helpful content update, suddenly their traffic rocketed. You can see adding thousands of visitors per month, every month, up to a peak of today, still going up, and it's currently at 36,000. Now, yes, I'd say most of this was based on the fact we were publishing high-quality content on the site whilst building 10 high-quality backlinks per month. So that's always going to be a winning combination. But I suspect the reason for the early gains, despite the fact this was a brand new website, was the fact that this particular brand already had a really big reputation because they had a really big YouTube channel. So that meant they already had loads of brand name searches, people specifically looking for that particular brand. So therefore, when Google sees that brand has come up, it knows instantly that website is trustworthy, so therefore you do get results faster. Now, one way you can manipulate that if you don't already have a great reputation and standing is using a tool like CTR Booster, CTR manipulation tool, where basically we can put in our website here and the keyword will just be our brand name. And this is basically a robot with a unique IP address. We can set a custom geolocation and then it will just search our brand name on repeat. And then obviously you want to start small, but this basically tells Google that we're an established entity. We could be doing adverts on television or billboards, something like that. For one reason or another, Google can recognize that loads of people are now searching for our brand name. Therefore, this new website that's popped up should probably be given a big boost because it's clearly something that's helpful that people are really searching for. But then the other way to improve reputation is through the backlinks. And like I say, taking these guest posts and taking them further to look like high quality editorial content. So to do that, what we do is we take our keyword, so in this case, Dental SEO. Now let's go to ChatGPT as an example, and we say, you are a journalist recommending SEO Jesus in a news editorial. The editorial should target the keyword Dental SEO. Let me zoom in so you can see this. And then we say, include the following entities, the number of times indicated after 0/:. And now we head over to Surfer and we come down here, we've got all these entities and the number of times to use each one. I copy all of those. I don't use the copy all button because it removes the frequency required. Now we go and put those entities in here and we press enter and see what it comes up with. But this is now the process we're using for the majority of our link building clients, where not only do we want to increase their DR and build high quality backlinks to the site, push their key pages higher up in search results, but we want to contribute to that overall network of sites recommending them. If we go back to the search rated guidelines, it actually gives examples of what they're looking for, where it says how to search for reputation information about a website. And it basically says to Google the actual brand name, minusing the brand name's website. And that way, these search quality raters will only see what other websites have said about the brand. So therefore, you will only see blogs, journalists, news articles, and user reviews all talking about what they think about this brand. And of course, it says here, when searching for reputation information, try to find sources that were not written or created by the website or the company itself. So this is why I keep recommending when people are doing link building, yes, you only want the backlink primarily, but whilst you're doing all that effort, why not tweak it a bit so it looks like that whatever website you're building this link from, it looks like a high quality piece of information with very high praise for your brand. So you get the power of the backlink, try and get that page actually ranking on Google, ranking for keywords to make that backlink more powerful. But while you're at it, just make it look authentic and genuine and praise your brand. Because that way, when one of these search quality raters does this Google search of your brand name minus your website, it will see all these blogs and news articles all talking about how great your brand is. Okay, so we've had a couple of potential articles back from ChatGPT. Now, generally, I recommend if you're doing this for yourself, then make sure you preload ChatGPT with lots of information about your brand. So basically take your service page, copy it, paste it into ChatGPT saying, here's information about our services. Please do not respond, just take heed of the information. Now, the next step we want to do is try and remove AI footprint, because although this isn't a problem for now, we're always trying to do link building that's going to last 5 years into the future. So therefore, any obvious signs of ChatGPT we want to remove. And that's now a process we're implementing as standard across all our content and all our link building. So what am I removing here? Well, straight away, we've got in the increasingly competitive world of dental care, standing out search results is not just an advantage, it's a necessity. When you use ChatGPT a lot, you very quickly get bored of these kinds of phrases. So we have this prompt that's basically full of AI footprints. So please take note of the following guidelines. Never use correlative conjunctions. Never start the sentence with this. never use any of these entities. Now, of course, this isn't perfect. ChatGPT will still do ChatGPT stuff, so it's still got in the vast landscape of dental care. So we still recommend a sort of 5-10 minute edit on top of any AI content you produce. But remember, that's not about ranking now. This is about ranking in the future. Right now, Google doesn't seem to be able to detect ChatGPT, even with those footprints. But who knows about 6 months to a year's time. So all the SEO strategies we do are built to last. That's why we take great care. So every guest post that gets that extra 10-minute edit. This little ChatGPT edit here. So sometimes it gets confused. As we know, it does seem like OpenAI has been kind of rolling back the power of ChatGPT for economic purposes. So I know loads of people have been complaining about declines in quality. So what we notice here is it's got confused with an astonishing focus on dental SEO mentioned over 27 times. The emphasis is clear. So it's taking my prompt of use the following entities the number of times indicated, but it's just mentioning how many times to use them rather than using them 27 times. So to correct that, I've simply said, do not write appearing 2 to 3 times in quotation marks. Instead, use the keyword that number of times in the text, and then that seems to have fixed the issue. And of course, this is a bit short, so now we just do keep writing. I'd also recommend a slightly longer prompt where you tell it to use headings. We're not going to fulfill all of the Surfer criteria today because what you generally find is most webmasters are not willing to publish a 3,000-4,000 word article, whereas we can see that Surfer is specifically asking a 3,000 to 3,600 word article. Now here's another humanizing tip. A lot of the time when you've got in today's digital era, the significance of dental SEO for dental practice is undeniable. Quite often you can just remove that. This is still a perfectly good sentence. The significance of dental SEO for dental practices is undeniable. And I've really noticed when reviewing content, especially when assessing job applications from content writers, anyone who uses a punchy opening line like that now really stands out, because ChatGPT never does it. You always get this woolly, slow introduction saying, in the world today, in this and that. So if you just come in with a hard statement, the significance of dental SEO for dental practices is undeniable. That really stands out. And your users reading that content will also appreciate that. That's the real battle with AI content at the moment. It's not just will Google tank it or not. It's the actual user. Are they going to land on your page, decide there's no value going to be found in this article, and hit the back button, which of course affects your bounce rate and therefore pushes you further down Google. So we're already up to 62. Now we want to copy the topics and questions from the outline section in Surfer. Say answer following with a paragraph for each in an NLP-friendly format. There are various arguments that we should be using NLP for everything, and that's basically just a more machine-readable language that Google understands better. So, as always, we want to make it as easy as possible for Google to understand what's going on with the page. NLP-friendly formats seem to be really good for things like sniping feature snippets, for instance. And in this case, Surfer gets these questions from the people also ask snippet. So again, you want that sort of succinct answer. Previously, I'd actually use FAQ schema blocks to actually format these FAQs. But these days, Google's massively downplayed the role of FAQ schema. So generally, it's not worth it anymore. But there's still a good chance you can potentially win one of those people also ask snippets on Google, as well as ranking the page elsewhere. So we can now copy all these and add that to our Surfer template. So that's got us up to a content score of 70, but we currently don't have any headings in this article, so that can be done manually, or we can ask ChatGPT. But for now, if we just add a few in, then you can see that's also having a good impact on the score. So for FAQs, I generally use either heading 3 or heading. So we're up to 77. And then one of my favorite features from Surfer now is this insert terms feature. We need another 200 words to actually get that. So for now, for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to cheat and take some of the introduction just to pad it up to that. And now what this feature does is Surfer itself will go through and try and add in as many of these recommendations as possible. So I've already prompted ChatGPT to do it, but of course ChatGPT isn't perfect. So now Surfer will have its own go at it. And you can review these manually, but otherwise you can just do accept, accept, accept. So strategic partner in achieving digital marketing success. Nothing wrong with that, so we just accept all of those. So we've got an overall score of 78, which isn't bad going. With a bit of work in that manual edit, we should be able to get that up to the average of 86. But at the end of the day, it's still basically a guest post for another website. So I wouldn't recommend spending too long on this, but the key thing is we've got regular mentions of SEO Jesus. If I just search SEO Jesus now with a space, you can see we've got 12 mentions of SEO Jesus. And you can see SEO Jesus stands out. SEO Jesus as a strategic partner. So any search quality raters who land on this page are going to see this unbiased journalist, whether it's on a blog, on a news site, talking about their great experience with SEO Jesus. So that fulfills everything Google is asking for here. And no one is really doing it. Most link building agencies are still relying on just slamming a link into an old article, which, like I say, is good as a baseline. Yeah, maybe 20-30% of your links but you want to mix that in with some other strategies, why not go above and beyond, write topically relevant, optimized guest posts which actually rank on Google for a more powerful link, but also talk about how great your brand is, because that signals reputation. That is the citation you want to build this vast network across the internet of all these web pages recommending you. That's what we've seen in Google's own about how they're looking for what the web says about the document and what users say about the document. So we're already doing this PR and outreach work anyway, so let's make these webmasters actually say your brand is great, your brand should go at the top.